All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this regular council meeting to order Monday, April 1st, 2024, at 1:00 p.m. in the Legendary Waters Grand Ballroom. Could we have a roll call, please?
Cole Boyd,
Here.
Rick Peterson,
Here.
Laura Scott, present, Laura Gordon,
Here.
Scott Avenue,
Here.
David Moran,
Here.
Ryan Bainbridge,
Here.
Butch Brissett,
Here.
Ernie Boones,
Yeah.
Quorum.
Thank you to everyone for being here today. We have Misty here to do an opening ceremony for us. Nicolette. Council, I have no agenda change requests. I'll accept as is.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Scott and a second by Brian. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. We'll take community comments and concerns. If anyone would like to give comment, please come to the table or turn the camera on and we'll acknowledge.
So I'd like to say condolences to the Cheryl Dominican family. Her journey was this morning. We actually have brought, they gifted us 2 platters of ground bologna sandwiches and a big platter of some kind of cake. So feel free, everyone that's here, including the council, eat and enjoy.
Chairwoman, I just want to say this Thursday is, I think it's going to be the last one for till the end of the summer. It's VFW Burger Night. I think they're serving at 4:30 till 7, I believe. But they're not going to do it throughout the summer, so it'll be the last one for a while. Come and get it.
Any other announcements?
I have one. This weekend, VFW supported the powwow for the kids, and as the post commander, I wanted to thank all the kids, families, everyone that had to do with it. A big thank you on my behalf.
I heard nothing but good things all this weekend, so probably especially wish to Dustin. I don't see Dr. Papp here, so I'm assuming she didn't know that there was a meeting change in the time. So we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, and we'll inform Beth that she can be on the next agenda if she desires. Chief Hall and her staff with the Pierce fire truck purchase. And the council has a packet of information in their agendas. Jess?
We're having a really hard time hearing. Audio's cutting in and out. We maybe get about every 5th word. So we're struggling to hear things pretty clearly. So I apologize.
We can hear you, Jess.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We are coming to council today in regards to the council requested some additional information regarding the pricing terms of the contract from Pierce. Concerns were both the ARPA deadlines, but also that PPI index. So the memo you have in front of you, regardless of which option Pierce laid out for us that we go with, the delivery date is not likely to happen prior to the ARPA deadlines. So what legal and planning and I approached Pierce with was approached Pierce for was looking at what the contract might look like if the tribe were to pay for the fire truck up front at time of purchase. And I will not go into the legal stuff. That's why I requested Rick staff to join me here, as he's the subject matter expert on that. So Rick, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. All right, I'll let you take over this particular portion, and then if council has any questions, you and I can tackle those as they come up.
Sure.
So I'll go through the differences between the 2 approaches to this contract. The first being we pay for the fire truck at the time of delivery, which is scheduled to be 36 to 38 months from the time of delivery. But that's not at all locked in, that's just their guesstimate. And they could very well deliver within 48 months. There's no lock-in whatsoever on us to deliver it by that 38-month window. So it's going to be potentially very far after the ARPA deadline. And the other thing to know about both versions of this contract is that the price isn't at all fixed, not at all. In both contracts, it specifically says that Pierce, the supplier manufacturer, will pass through 100% of chassis price increases, 100% of the costs of any regulatory upgrades. If EPA, for example, would require an equipment upgrade, 100% of the cost of any drivetrain increases that might just come because they build a more expensive vehicle than they originally did, which that does happen from time to time. They do have an act of God. But what is fairly unusual is that their definition of an act of God includes supply chain issues, problems with suppliers delivering materials at the original price, problems with labor. They've got an act of God clause, in other words, that isn't limited to acts of God. Any problems you're going to run into, excuse me, in producing this truck will likely fall under that act of God if they want to go down that route. The price again drops by $15,000 if we pay it on day one of the contract at the time of ordering. So it's $549,930 if we pay at the time of delivery, but $534,930, $15,000 less if we pay at the time of the order. That price, again, subject to all those potential upgrades, the $534,930 is again available, but if the cost of the vehicle goes up over the 38 months it takes to deliver it, the tribe again pays for whatever price increases there might be. It gets a little worse if we pay at the time of delivery, because there's an index where, in addition to all the other upcharges, they can increase the price according to the PPI index, which is the producer price increase. Producer price index, which reflects the cost of the increase of their materials going into the manufacture of the fire truck. And what they say there is that over the 38 months, if that's how long it takes to build it, they will charge us everything over 5% of that increase in PPI. Historically, that would not be a huge number, but for example, with the problems we ran into with COVID, there was a 50% increase from the beginning of 2020 to the beginning of 2022. And that, of course, would be an astronomical number, approaching $250,000 price increase using that index if that worst-case scenario popped up. But let's say it ends up being 20%, and they charge us 15%. That's still a pretty substantial amount of money, approaching $75,000 or more price increase because of that PPI. And economically, I think we're looking at a worst-case scenario with all the infrastructure and ARPA money coming due and having to be spent at the same time we're trying to get this fire truck paid for. I don't think there's any reason to predict that the PPI index is not going to go up substantially, but there's no way to know for sure, of course. So just that's the, and there is a cancellation fee. If we would try to cancel because of these price increases, we have to understand that if we waited till we got the final pricing from the plan where we pay at the time of delivery, that number comes to us 14 months before the vehicle is available. That's when we know how much the price increase is. If we would try to cancel at that point, they have a cancellation fee of 30% of the cost of the vehicle minus whatever they could sell it for. So you'd like to think that they'd be able to sell it for the market price of the vehicle, but again, there's no guarantee. But they begin, if we cancel because the numbers are just too big, they're going to want 30% minus whatever they can get from a new buyer for that vehicle, and hopefully it's far enough along that it's saleable. But again, we don't know. So there's a number of ways that this vehicle price gets substantially higher than the list price that they have on it. Just as a quick summary, but maybe that's enough for you to get going on.
Sure. So the conclusion is in general, the cost of the payment at time of purchase is lower, as Rick said. There's no cancellation fee if we kind of do that prepayment. But there's also no built-in contingency fund to the prepayments, and fewer protections if rates increase down the line, due to all the factors that Rick just laid out. At the payment of time of delivery, that option affords slightly greater protections, though the tribe still does assume all of those risks that Rick just talked about with the PPI index increases. We have the option, if council still wants to move forward with this, we have the option to pay at the time of the price assessment that Pierce will perform 14 months prior to the completion date, which will provide a firmer picture, like Rick said, of the actual cost at time of delivery. And if their 36 to 38 month delivery date estimates are correct, if we, I just ran a few numbers time-wise. If we were to place an order in May of this year using that 38-month delivery date estimate, the 14-month prior to completion assessment would occur in May of 2026, and that still gives us about a 6-month cushion of time to meet ARPA deadlines should the actual delivery date be delayed by a handful of months, if that makes sense.
I don't understand what you mean by meeting ARPA dates.
If I'm hearing it correctly, you're asking about by the ARPA deadline.
Yeah, what does that mean? Because
The ARPA expenditure deadline of 12/31/26.
So we'd have funds obligated towards a fire truck that we wouldn't use, you're suggesting, if we chose to not use it.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding the I'm not hearing anything. I have no audio.
And I don't either, just to make it clear that it's on everybody's end here.
Jess, this is Rick. I don't know if you can hear me, but Rick, staff, or Dave, somebody, if you can hear me. I got a couple of questions in regard to this request. One is, if this is a 3-year lead time on this new vehicle, what is the condition of our current vehicles? One. And second, I have a pretty extensive career in corporate America. I worked in purchasing and multiple other capacities, and I have never, ever heard of a supply chain issue being an act of God unless the boat carrying it was struck by lightning and sunk.
Yeah, it is extremely odd. I think that the problems and issues here abound.
And from my perspective, having reviewed these contract iterations from the first one we got 6 months ago till now, they're getting progressively stranger, to use that word. I've never seen anything this broad where a supply chain issue is an act of God, the labor problem is an act of God. I suspect, as you can see, that they're 38 months out front on their orders, and they may just be trying to eliminate all of the risk that they bore during COVID. You know, when the PPI went up 50%, that was on them, I assume, if they hadn't gone as far with the contracting. And what they did was eliminate all of the risk and put it all on the customer, which they can probably do now with the market functioning the way it is.
So as far as Rick's first question, the condition of the current vehicles, they are old, but they do get yearly maintenance. That yearly maintenance costs right around $9,000 to $11,000, which takes up most of their 638 contract that isn't already allocated to volunteer stipend. So the idea initially, or not initially, but an idea was knocked around a couple of times. There was a question of whether or not it was a viable option to go with a used truck in lieu of this new purchase, and pretty much unanimously, the decision, at least on the protective services side, was that it's not currently a viable option because of that additional annual maintenance cost. The fire department's current fleet is all older and used vehicles, and that takes up a huge chunk of the cost already. One moment.
For everybody else listening, I guess, in my experience, there's so many caveats to this contract. You don't know what heck your end game is, what the end price is going to be, and all these other different things. And is God out there in charge of the union because of a labor strike? I don't buy that for a second. In regard to purchasing a used vehicle can be 2 days old. A used vehicle doesn't have to be 20 years old. I really believe that there has to be, I'm not saying it's abundant, but I believe that there is a market out there that we can look at of like a newer used fire truck. And like you said, Jess, you just mentioned it a little bit ago that all of our vehicles up to this point have been used, and if you can get a newer fire truck in a really good condition, it eliminates a lot of these caveats and the 3-year lead time, in my opinion.
Jess, a couple of weeks ago we had met and I asked you if you would take a peek at another company other than Pierce and possibly a new one. I don't think it would be prudent for the tribe to go after this Pierce contract the way it's written up. There's no guarantee for the tribe at all. And I know a lot of folks don't want to see a new vehicle, but if you take a look out there, find a good vehicle that's used, a good one, I think we could succeed without all these foot hazards of this Pierce contract, or proposal, I should say.
I just don't think the two options that are being presented today, either prepaying or paying at the time of delivery with a bunch of risk, it doesn't seem like either of them are viable options. I'm confused what the recommendation is. If your recommendation is to not pay up front and pay at the time of delivery and take the risk of the price increase, and then where's the money going to come from? Or are you working within the budget that you have and you're willing to reduce the frills and amenities that are on this truck to stay within budget? I'm not sure what your recommendation is. Are you giving us a recommendation?
We are asking what council is willing to do as I was given the task of making the purchase of the fire truck happen. And with the initial decision via Fire Chief Hood and council to go with Pierce, we did that through sole source to meet the procurement, the initial part of the procurement requirements, and now next stage was look at contract language. Council asked us to gather some more clarification on that PPI index. And this is the result of that additional information with an alternative purchasing contract language that does not contain that PPI index. Both have their risks, so I wanted to lay both of those options out to council and see what council's either recommendation or council's opinion is on moving forward with either or neither of those two contracts.
So I got a comment to this. Just because, even before hearing the explanation and reading the stuff that was presented, none of it makes any sense for the tribe to engage in any type of dealings with a contract like this. And what Chairman's comment of what are the recommendations, and I see two in one here. What are the attorney's suggestions and recommendations on this contract without saying, well, maybe this or well, maybe that? We're wasting time. I think a lot of this stuff could have been vetted out already within administration. But it's here now again. So, I'd like to either hear the suggestion of maybe what Rick was saying of look somewhere else and make a purchase. But I don't know what that is. Right now, this makes no sense. I want to see a nice piece of equipment go to our fire, and I want to make sure it is nice. I don't want some piece of junk. So, what is the timeline really to go? That's my second question. But I really want to hear the opinion of legal of this, if this even makes any sense to move forward.
And I'm happy to answer that. I'm happy to answer that question if you like. There's really nothing there that makes sense from a legal perspective. The tribe can't handle unlimited risk like that, and that's what Pierce is offering.
Well, here's my concern. And you're mentioning that now. And here we have Jess trying to figure out how the heck to get this done. But it could have been just as simple as having the attorney say, this makes no sense. Don't put it on the agenda. Let's move and do something else.
If I could just jump in here real quick and add that was our recommendation to Jess, that she look for a newer used piece of equipment. And I was informed, and maybe I misunderstood it, but Jess told me that administration did not want to get a used piece of equipment. And they wanted to proceed with the Pierce contract. Now, if that is not the case, that changes the game because, as I mentioned, both Rick Staff and I have looked at this, and there is nothing about this that makes good sense for the tribe. And no one has mentioned the fact that Pierce could go into bankruptcy as well if we prepay. So there are a ton of problems, and Pierce, or the dealership for Pierce, does not appear to be amenable to negotiating terms for this contract that would make sense for the tribe. And so, unless the administration absolutely is dead set on a Pierce vehicle, you know, my recommendation, and I think Rick would probably join me, but Rick, feel free to say, is that we look elsewhere. Rick, what do you think about that?
I agree 100%. Over the past couple of months, we've been digging in as deep as we can with Pierce, trying to find the best terms. But every time they play another card, so to speak, the terms got worse. And so a couple of months ago, we thought we could potentially pull something together with them. But every time we asked them for clarification, the terms they offered were less positive. So I don't see that this is going to be a workable proposal.
So would it make sense to entertain a motion to deny this proposal with Pierce, whatever their company's called? It's so goofy I can't remember what the hell it's called. So you know, I'd like to make that motion and then include that we look to another source to make sure that we procure a adequate fire truck for our fire department within our timeline.
Motion on the floor by Brian,
Second.
second by David. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just like in discussion, I would like to make a suggestion that the chief meet with the fire chiefs and go over the specifications that they were looking for this truck and maybe find that a used vehicle. I know two of the big important ones that were on that list were diesel and four-wheel drive. I suggest not going anything later than 2019. So that's something like that you'll have to discuss with the chiefs of the fire department. That's it.
I have a question or I have a comment for discussion. So a couple of weeks ago, Jess, we did talk about something very connected to looking around. I'm just disappointed that you didn't bring forth some of these ideals based on our conversation we had in the past, and I hope that in the future we just gotta, as a team, think out of the box a little more and ask a little more questions before we just bounce. And I know you've been bouncing, so I just ask that.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Are you an abstention or?
I'm an abstention.
One abstention, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the resolution request for the Wellness Center site. It didn't work.
Sitting in for Diane on behalf of the clinic today, she is unavailable.
Are there any questions on the resolution? Motion to approve. Second. We have a motion by Laura to approve and a second by Laura. Any other discussion? So there was no resolution attached, and we advised that there would be a resolution, and so they followed up to get a resolution, yes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We will keep the following up. Resolution 1424A. Yeah, that's what I said. 4124A. I wrote 0124A. All right, next on the agenda, Tribal Court via Tawaki funds with a T.
So we're looking for approval for the EIA Hawaii Fund resolution. It's, EIA contacted us about some grant monies, and they are requesting a resolution before they move forward.
How much?
$100,000.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion by David and a second by Brian. I just wanted to, before you, well, to follow administrative. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Resolution
4124B.
Motion by David and a second by Brian. Which ladies? Nora will get the resolution to you. It's in the packet. Next on the agenda is the site selection for the elderly apartments.
So I have the information, all of the, Beck, I just want to say I think you did a great job of reaching out and getting more elders to respond to that survey. And there was a lot of good information. And I'm going to make a motion to accept that Aiken site.
Second.
We have a motion by Nora on the Aiken site. There's no map specifying that location, but was that second by you, Laura? Second by you?
Nora and Brian.
Oh, David, sorry.
Nora and David.
Any other discussion? I would like a resolution also to follow up so that we can clearly show the community the space that we're allocating, because we'll have to probably take some additional action to redact previous council action that was taken on the 40 acres that is for the farm.
So we looked for that, and the only thing we found was 2 resolutions deeming for community garden, not farm. One was for a health clinic, community garden, and one was for First American Convention Center community garden. We couldn't find one that was 40 acre theme. It was just a community garden, so we farm recreational effects. We couldn't find that to ask for that in the thing there.
Well,
So we're still looking at the teams to try to put that in the resolution.
we still, yeah, we will need a resolution clarifying exactly the space that we're talking about, guys, because I still think it's all just hypothetical without a map.
Well, and I got a comment, and you know, I appreciate you doing that survey, because last time it wasn't meant to be controversial. It was what was presented, and what was labeled number 1 within the document. And without a site selection and just saying Aiken Road, that, as Chairwoman just mentioned, it just gets a little confusing.
There's a map attached to the attached agenda, so there's some information I must have sent it to.
Well, it just, like I said, it was just what was there, what was labeled as number 1, which was the Birch Bark trail. You know, that's why it was a question, and to really think, as David mentioned, with our new GIS person, thinking out of the box and saying that, making a comment of separating elders from youth just doesn't sit well with me. So whoever call it as it will, you know, I think it's important to make sure that we set these things out properly. And, you know, again, there's still a little confusion on the site with an administration. But appreciate Becky for doing the follow-up that was asked and getting that survey out to make sure we have more than just a couple of elders on it. That's,
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries, and you'll follow on the resolution. Thank you, Becky. Any discussion, I think we should go to 12 for the resolution. No. I don't know. Should we approve conforming resolution?
There was a map in this stuff I sent to Nora where it was supposed to be.
If you'd like, someone can send it along, I'll be happy to take a look at it.
I would just bring it back.
Bring it back.
Okay. I think it's today, next, or at least.
Next on the agenda is the housing board application. Everyone see the applicant materials.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion by Scott to approve the applicant, Dan Duffy, and a second by Butch. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We have an applicant on the Business Development Corporation. Any questions or discussion on the materials?
How many seats are open on that? Just this one?
I think two. I think there's Randy's and Max's. You don't have to be a child member.
do we have the majority of the slots as winner right now?
Everyone else is a child member.
What's she on there for? She's resigned.
She resigned. She was on there with Dave before giving us one.
Make a motion to.
We have a motion by Brian and a second by Scott to approve the applicant, Cass Joy. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? One abstention, Laura. Motion carries. Next, we'll move to the minutes, March 4th and March 19th.
Motion to approve March 4th and March 19th meeting minutes.
Second.
A motion approved by Ernie, second by David. Any other discussion?
In discussion, does that include the changes if needed?
Yes. Make corrections if necessary, yes.
Discussion with corrections if necessary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's balance sheet for February 2024. Treasurer Gordon?
Good afternoon, council. If you looked at your balance sheet, I just want to make a comment that the operating checking, that the number that is negative red has came down a significant amount again due to the accountants cleaning up all the outstanding stuff that's out there. The actual Bremer operating account is actually what is in the bank. I'm not sure if there's any other questions, but I'd like to keep an eye on the operating checking because last month it was at 787,235.70, and if you see now we're in the negative 150,104.8, so we're down 636,000. So, and that is due to the accountants finding all the backup to close things out. But please keep in mind too that this amount is what everybody owes to the tribe. It's got like the Buffalo Bay Store loan, the Bush Company, that is all combined in here. And right now I'm currently working at our last business board meeting that we talked about when we went over the audit. I made a recommendation that the loan should be in the audit. And I'm trying to work with Chris now to find out what is the actual balance that Buffalo Bay Store owes the tribe. So I'm kind of working on different pieces of this, but it's a work in progress. It's come a long way. That's all what I can say.
Which, Laura, I'll make a motion to accept the balance sheet.
Second.
We have a motion by Brian and a second by Rick. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Aye.
One abstention, Laura. Motion carries.
Miigwech Council.
Next on the agenda, we have appoint election board. We have 2 in our packet online and 1 that Nora handed out in person.
Make a motion to approve all 3.
We have a motion to approve Cindy Garrity, Jennifer Defoe, and Christopher Hillard by Butch, second by Scott. Any other discussion?
In discussion, I need 5 people for the board, and I have 2 people that have verbally committed to serving on the election board, and they have served last year. It was Alexandria Butterfield and Carol Nuaga. And I'm asking that council approve those 2 also.
Motion.
It was Butch and Scott.
I just have a comment too. If you read the Constitution, you need 7. 5 to be appointed to the board and 2 as alternates. So we need 7.
Butch, does your motion include the 2 individuals that Nora mentioned, Alex Butterfield and Carol Nuaga?
Yes, I'll include them.
Scott. Any other discussion?
Yeah, the alternates, this does come up. And people get sick, and, you know, there are constitutional requirements about the number of members we need on that board. So if we can't get the 2 alternates, I encourage us to pull out the stops.
I'll take a poll vote if we get the 2 alternates, so just let us know. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Motion carries.
Do we appoint the chair at this time also? Laura?
What's that?
Do we appoint
Take the board.
the chair?
Take the board, Mr. Chair, doesn't it?
Appoint the chair.
No, I think the council does, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
The council appoints the chair.
Council, do you wish to appoint the chair for the election board?
I'll make a motion to appoint Cindy Garrity.
We have a motion by Rick to appoint Cindy Garrity and a second by Brian. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Aye.
One abstention, motion carries. It wasn't on the agenda, but we'll accept it. Anything under other besides that?
Do we have a date laid down here for the retreat?
I don't know, but we can, work on that. I have a whole slew of agenda items that have been